Hey there, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Classic Gaming Brothers. I'm Seth.
And I'm Zach.
And we are the Classic Gaming Brothers.
That's correct, Seth. We are the Classic Gaming Brothers.
That's right. Happy more holidays, I guess.
We are back in standard Classic
is standard
Gaming Brother
mode.
HQ. Yeah, we don't have
Yes.
the music in the background or the anything else going on that we did have in the last episode.
Right. No weird antennas. It's all hardlined.
Yeah, all hardlined. You know, it's back to the days of no interference or anything like that, and Pokey's extended family has gone home, back to their home planet of Kashyyyk.
Why is Pokey a Wookiee?
Because I made the joke in the Christmas episode that
I know.
Chewie's family was here, and you said it was Pokey's family, and then I said his family is Mala and Lumpy, which are Chewie's wife and son.
Yeah.
Chewie named his son Lumpy. That's weird.
maybe his wife named him Lumpy.
That's still weird. It's like
Maybe it's a nickname.
It is. His full name is Lumparoo.
So bad. Well, anyway, we're not here to talk about Chewie and his lumps. What have you recently been playing?
Seth, I've recently been playing a little game called The Long Dark. The Long Dark came out in 2014. It is a first-person survival game developed and published by Hinterland Studio, where you play as a crash-landed bush pilot who must survive in the frigid Canadian wilderness. It is a fun game. I like The Long Dark. I originally played The Long Dark some time ago when you and I were sharing our Steam libraries with each other, and you had a copy. And then I picked up a copy for myself for free. So The Long Dark it's pretty fun. As mentioned, you play as this person who survives a plane crash, and you have to kind of just make your way through parts of the Canadian wilderness and survive as long as you can. And it's pretty immersive in the sense that you can really die from almost anything. At one point, the longest playthrough I did was my character survived like 3 or 4 in-game days, which I believe translates to like 3 to 4 hours. But what ended up happening was after I had survived hypothermia when I fell through the ice, I needed food, and the only animals that were around me were wolves, so I decided to try to shoot a wolf, and I missed, so the wolf mauled me, and I died.
Yeah, that's what happens when you shoot at wolves and you miss. I've met wolves.
You have met wolves. They seemed nice, though, the ones you met.
They were very nice. They actually would not be allowed to go into the wild because they were too nice. They would walk up to hunters and ask for scratches, which is not what you do when you're a wolf and you meet a hunter, which is why they stay in captivity. But yeah, I also have played The Long Dark. You get very cold in that game. Don't you have to find heat everywhere?
Yep, that's like a core mechanic is you have to actually monitor your body temperature and your core temperature so that you have to like find places to light fires and make sure that you're covered in enough dry clothes, because if you say fall into a lake like I did, your clothes will get wet, and when your clothes are wet, you get cold and you get frostbitten, and you have to get by the fire, and you can't wear wet clothes and be cold at the same time. It's a bad combination.
That's
so
true.
It's
how people die.
It is how people die, and it's how I died a couple times in that game.
Well, what I've been playing is not a really well-known game, but it's a game done by a small company called CD Projekt Red, and it is Cyberpunk 2077. It came out on the 9th of December of this year, and by the time of this recording, it is the 22nd of this year, and I have already played a lot of this game.
Yeah.
A real lot of this game. So for those who are unaware of what Cyberpunk 2077 is, it is a game based on the Cyberpunk tabletop game. The Cyberpunk tabletop game came out in, I want to say the 80s, and it was Cyberpunk 2013, and it was about the far distant future, and it was a dystopic world. And then they released a few other versions: Cyberpunk 2020, Cyberpunk 2023, Cyberpunk. Now it's called Cyberpunk Red. The tabletop game is, and it's based on Cyberpunk 2077, which is also a video game. They work together. The developers of the tabletop game work together with the video game developers to get a cohesive world. It takes place in a cyberpunk genre, which is a futuristic world where people have more connection to technology, where you may get like cybernetic limbs, or you might replace your eyeballs to get cybernetic eyeballs or do all sorts of fun stuff with your body to change it into a machine. And the world is also generally dystopic, where it is just run by evil corporations, and everything's pay to play, and there's the haves and have-nots. One of my actually favorite aspect of Cyberpunk is a group called the Trauma Team. And the way the Trauma Team works is that you can get insurance in the game, and depending on the level of insurance you get, the Trauma Team may come to rescue you. And the Trauma Team is essentially an ambulance that is a SWAT team. So wherever you are, if you are injured or with the possibility of being injured, you can send up an alert, and a floating van full of people with armor and machine guns will show up and retrieve you and do everything they can to revive you, depending on your level of package. It's a common trope in these type of cyberpunk type worlds, and I always like that trope. It in fact also happens in Shadowrun, which is like cyberpunk, except there's magic and mystical creatures like elves and trolls. So cyberpunk does not have elves or trolls or magic. Cyberpunk is very much grounded in humans and machines. Shadowrun is magic humans and machines. They both have hacking and all sorts of the virtual world and stuff like that. So that's Cyberpunk. The game is very right now controversial, as I'm sure people have read or seen. I'm just going to unpack the controversy from my side. So I do own the game on a PC, and I specifically use a service called NVIDIA Now, which is where I remote into essentially an NVIDIA warehouse and play it on one of their computers, which are generally high-end rigs. So I stream it using my internet, which is pretty good, to my computer, so I don't have any issues with running the game. I have encountered bugs, and I've actually sent in a ticket because some of the bugs are annoying, but they're not game-breaking annoying or annoying enough that I'm not going to play the game. So far, I've really enjoyed the story, and I've really enjoyed the game. I understand that there is controversy, and I do agree that I don't think they should have... I think they should have... If they were going to release a game to an older generation of consoles, they should have made sure that it ran. I understand that we even have some friends of the podcast who got it on an older generation of consoles, and it's frustrating for them, and I feel that. I haven't experienced it, but I understand where they're coming from. So I think CD Projekt Red will make do. I think that the game had an issue where it was perhaps overhyped, and when a game gets overhyped, the expectations get pretty high, and they sometimes become insurmountable. Other games that have gone through this are like No Man's Sky. It's a prime example of a game that was overhyped, and it fell short of expectations. I think that perhaps the game may have got ahead of itself a little bit, but it's tough. I know it's a tough call to make regards to it was wrong, but I think CD Projekt Red will make right by people. So to get on to the show, as it were, the meat of the podcast, this episode we're going to go back to our talking about arcade cabinets. We like to go back and talk about arcade cabinets every so many episodes, just so that there's some order in the house, as it were. This particular episode we're going to talk about weird cabinet, just weird looking ones. At some point in time, Zach and I discovered a list of some weird looking cabinets, just really strange. And we decided that we were going to do a little segment where we talk about 5 of them today, and then maybe 5 of them some other day. And then we'll go through, there's a bunch. So if they're not super weird looking, then we probably won't talk about them. But if these are going to be some strange ones. We'll try to describe them to our best of our ability, but we definitely recommend Googling them if you get a moment to see kind of what we're talking about, because they are some unique cabinets, as it were.
Seth, do you want to take it away with this first cabinet we have on this list?
The way that we'll do this is that we'll kind of describe the cabinet first. Then we'll do our what we personally feel about looking at this cabinet, from our initial views, and then some information about the actual cabinet, some facts, so people can still learn while listening, because learning is half the battle.
G.I. Joe.
That's right. Bullets is the other half. So the first cabinet is a cabinet called Crossbow. Crossbow is unique. It is a standard cabinet with your curved screen with the overhang, whatever the roof of the cabinet is, or
Yeah.
there's like an overhang of it. It's got the header on it. It says Crossbow, and there's like a dragon tail or dragon that's poking out, and then there's some graphic going up the side that just looks like fantasy creatures, as it were.
Yeah.
The interesting part is that there is a large crossbow in the center of the control board, as you would expect, I guess. As like, instead of a joystick or buttons, there is a crossbow. When I looked at this, I just initially looked at this. This is actually one of the cabinets that I first saw and was like, what is going on? I looked at this first and I was just like, I don't even, like, yes, I guess. First of all, it looks simultaneously a very fun game to play and also a very dangerous game to play. And I'm like, Mike, it's like, dude, there's strings. Like, it's a legit crossbow just like built into it. I'm sure it's plastic at the end of the day. The image that we have is nondescript whether or not it's wood or not, but I guarantee you it's plastic. But I want to know, like, does the string move? Like, I don't even know if it does. It would be fun if it like reacted the way it, like like the guns in Time Crisis do, where they slide back. If that did that for the crossbow. But that was my initial take, was just like, what is going on? And that looks dangerous.
My take is, I just think any game that has a crossbow it's got to be a good game. I think crossbows are just like, of all the medieval weaponry out there, I've always had a weird affinity for crossbows. I don't know why. I just think they look cool. And I think the concept of the crossbow is cool, so I'm sure it's a fun accessory. It looks like would be fun to play with.
The crossbow is like the gun of the medieval ages.
It's like the rifle of the medieval age.
It's a powerful weapon. So this game was created by a company called Exidy, and it was made in 1983, where times were rough and kids were wild. The game was later published by Absolute Entertainment, and it came out on the Commodore 64 and MS-DOS. And the Atari Corporation published it for Atari 2600, the 7800, and the 8-bit family, and that all came out in 1987, which was a great year. The game is controlled via the full-size crossbow, and the object of the game is that you have to protect a band of adventurers by shooting objects that threaten them. The adventurers enter from the left-hand side of the screen and attempt to cross the screen unharmed. You have to help them reach the opposite side of the screen by providing them covering fire. Once they cross the screen, they would survive to the next scenario, where they have to cross the screen again. Occasionally, new adventurers will join the adventurers crossing the screen between scenarios. So overall, it sounds like a pretty simplistic, maybe almost like a tower defense, right? It sounds like a little bit like a tower defense.
Yeah.
Except you are the tower.
Yeah, you are the tower that is doing the defending.
Yes. So Crossbow, coming to an arcade not near you.
Yeah. The next game on this list of just kind of bizarre cabinets was one that I picked out. I thought was a fun little system. It's a game called Hang On, which was made by Sega. Now, the Hang On cabinet in particular, I'm going to break it down for you. This thing looks like a motorcycle. It actually kind of looks like a Japanese style motorcycle, like a Kawasaki or a Suzuki. Also kind of looks like just the way the plastic is molded, kind of looks like a light cycle from Tron.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, it looks like the old style light cycles, except where the handlebars traditionally go, there are handlebars, but there's also just big old CRT smacked into the system. And that's the thing. That's what it looks like. I love it. I think I just love the idea of a TV shoved right in front of you. And it looks so dangerous. Like, if you get on this thing and something were to give and the entire thing were to tip over, That's a lot of equipment that's just going to crash into you.
Well, that's why the stand that it's on looks like it's from like an industrial metal. Like that thing looks like it bolts to the ground.
Oh yeah, but like still, like if anything were to happen, if that thing were to like keel over, that's it. There's no turning back.
I just want to know how you perch on that thing. Do you sit with your face 6 inches from the screen, or do you sit sitting up? That's what I'm wondering.
That is something that gave children glasses. Like, it damaged eyeballs back in the day, I'm sure.
To me, when I first saw this, it looked like a motorcycle from the iconic image from the Akira movie, except that it was branded Sega.
Yeah.
And there's that aforementioned television screen shoved in the front. Personally, I really love these type of arcade style games. If it's like a replica of a motorcycle or a car, they always cost like $1 million more than any other arcade game. They'll be like, oh, do you want to play like Hackman or Time Crisis? It's like $1 or like 50 cents at like Dave and Buster's. Then they're like, oh, do you want to ride on the motorcycle? That's like $4. I'll spend all the money in the world to play this game. And I just feel like anything where it replicates a machine, like I'm not going to have this in my house. To be fair, I'm not going to have a crossbow in my house, but I can play a shooting game in my house. But I I can emulate crossbow on my computer. And I probably wouldn't lose that much value that the crossbow gives it. Where having this motorcycle, I couldn't have this motorcycle in my house. And I think it would lose a lot of value. Like if I'm playing a motorcycle game, I want to be on a motorcycle. Or like if I'm playing a car game, I want to be in a replica car. That's just how my life is. And so even though it looks dangerous, I would still be the kid that climbs on it. I don't know if I'd sit with my eyes up against it or if I'd like ride sitting normally on it, but yeah, I definitely get on it and injure myself.
Yeah. So Hang On, like I mentioned, was made by Sega. It was made in 1985. The game was actually later ported to the Sega Master System, which was a great little video game system. In the game, the player is controlling a motorcyclist, and you are racing against not only time, but computer-controlled racers. And it was a very cool game because not only was it one of the earliest arcade games to use 16-bit graphics, it also used something called the Superscalar arcade board. Now, the Superscalar was this kind of neat, innovative piece of technology that was designed to allow sprites to scale and look decently when they scaled to create kind of a 3D effect. So like big sprites would become small sprites, but they would do it with kind of a fidelity so it wouldn't look gross. It was kind of a cool little gimmick that the game had to go by. And as you can imagine from the fact that you are perched onto this motorcycle, you are using the motorcycle to move your character back and forth, and you have to adjust obviously with the motorcycle. I was reading a little bit more about Hang On, and they actually did release a standard stand-up cabinet, one where you're not straddling a motorcycle. Apparently they did this not only for cost-saving methods, but also because there were some complaints from people who found the Hang On machine to be rather uncomfortable and also unfortunate for individuals who were, say, wearing skirts.
It also doesn't look like it was handicap accessible.
Definitely was not.
Next is 2 cabinets for the price of 1. A cabinet called Arm Champs and the sequel, Arm Champs 2. So
I just love the name. Arm Champs.
So there's Arm Champs and then there's Arm Champs 2. Even though one is the sequel to the first one because it says so in the name, Arm Champs 2, they are 2 entirely different looking games. The first one is blue and what I would refer to as flesh colored.
It looks like you're at this like blue table with a shirtless man who is fused into a wall. Like it's like something out of a horror movie.
Or like what's the lady name from Doctor Who?
Oh, Cassandra.
Moisturized.
Yeah, but she's like pushing out.
Yes. It's or like that horror movie where there's like people stuck in the walls or whatever, the ghosts stuck in the walls. And then instead of a face on this replica of a topless person is a image of a angry man's face that has bright orange hair and a karate band, which I hope that like a band over his head, like a sweatband. And I hope that's just the image that goes on there. Like I hope that's what stays the entire time you play. And then above the header says Arm Champs, but there's no like, it doesn't pull over like a traditional, like there's this, it doesn't come over like a screen, like a roof. It just goes straight up like a, almost like a, I don't know, like a campy 5 and dime type situation. The sequel, Arm Champs 2, looks like the Arm Champs 1 guy went to play Cyberpunk.
Yeah, it looks like oh, I love it. It's like instead of fighting a shirtless man, you're fighting a robot that has a silver arm sticking out of its
Right.
chest.
Yep. So apparently, because you could defeat Arm Champs 1, Earth had no more mighty heroes to defeat whoever the player is.
Ran out of shirtless
and now
men.
they had to go for robots. Yeah. So it's more chunky and plastic. The Arms Champ 2. It definitely has that, like, I feel like Tonka toy coming at me when I'm looking at this. So,
yeah.
like a kid's plastic type deal. Like
Yeah. I get you.
And then a steel hand sticking out. But I think it's the thumb sticking up so you can arm wrestle with them.
Yes.
That was kind of like my initial take too, was when I looked at it, I was like, the first one looks like it's from Coney Island, and the second one looks like the Coney Island went to Cyberpunk. And I like how this second one, you get a little foot pedal.
Yeah.
But the first one, no dice.
Yeah. I like the thing. And the foot pedal doesn't even look like it's a foot pedal. It looks like it's a grip for your feet so you don't slip.
Yeah, well, that's what I meant, like a foot gripper.
Yeah, which I think is 100% like they got complaints of people slipping and face planting in the arcade.
Yeah, especially like you have no guarantee of what this is going on.
Yeah.
So like it could go on carpet or it could go on tile.
Yeah.
And if somebody spilled soda next to this machine, you are going down.
You are dunzo.
Exactly.
I love this thing. Both of them look like those love testometers or whatever they're called that you see at like a skeevy bar in the back where you have to like grab onto something and it's like, this tells you how much you love the other person.
Yes, yeah. They do have those for strength too, but you don't have to do anything. You just grip it.
Yeah. I mean, they're all just awful looking. You are arm wrestling in this. For those who might not have caught on, you are arm wrestling against the AI.
Yes. It's decidedly a video game, but it's border that like take my money versus a video game. So it was a arm wrestling game, and it was released by Jaleco in 1988, and it was followed by its much more popular sequel, Arm Champs 2. It came out in 1992. So in the game, Arm Champs and Arm Champs 2, your objective is to beat your opponent in an arm wrestling match, as you would assume with a name like Arm Champs and an arm sticking out. Your arm strength when you're fighting the AI arm wrestler is measured during each round, and the game has 2 modes, and one of those modes allows you to freely select an opponent to arm wrestle against. The other mode is your story mode, where you go through, it looks like, was it 3 rounds maybe?
Yeah,
like that?
So at least in the first game, there are assorted characters that you have to fight against.
Ooh.
There is Nessie Papillon, who is a female champ and a British professional wrestler. There is the Mad Foreman, who is an unemployed man from Germany.
But he's a foreman.
Yes. No, I think that's his name. His name is Mad Foreman. I'm sorry. I don't think that's his title. I think his name, I just realized now, his name is just Mad Foreman. Like Mads Mikkelsen.
or Red Foreman.
Yeah, or Red Foreman, yeah. Except he's mad.
Yeah.
The next is...
who's unemployed.
Who's unemployed. The next is Cho Yongping, who is a Chinese fisherman. Then there is Mike Robinson, a South African miner, and Wolf Adams, an American convoy driver.
Those all sound like wonderful human beings.
They do. Mad Foreman is my favorite, just because it's just an unemployed man from Germany.
I like that in Arm Champs 2 we don't know if there's characters.
Yeah.
And it might just be robots.
Well, the best thing about these Arm Champ games is that while Arm Champs 2 is readily available as a dumped ROM over the course of the internet, Arms Champ 1 can only be played in arcades and only in Japan, meaning you have to go to Japan to play Arms Champ 1 if you really wanted to. It's almost it's almost like a lost game.
It's kind of like a lost game. You could buy the board, I assume.
Probably, except I imagine it's very expensive.
Yeah, I looked into purchasing arcade boards before, and they can get to be essentially when you buy an arcade cabinet, and if you're buying an arcade cabinet with a board in it, you are primarily paying for that board.
Yeah.
The boards can run up to be about $500-$600 a pop, let alone like that's it. Like that's all you're getting is a board. It's pretty intense.
Now the next game. The next game I love. I love the next game. I've never played the next game, but I love it. And it's one of the older titles on this list. It is Fire Truck from 1978. Now, Fire Truck, to describe it for you, looks kind of like your standard arcade cabinet. You know, it has the boxy shape with the inset portrait screen with the marquee at the top, with the instructions down the side. Instead of a joystick, it has a wheel, you know, not that weird. And then it has a chair, and chair has another wheel on the back of it for another player. Because, my friends, Fire Truck is a co-op game. It involves one player sitting down and another player sniffing that player's hair. No, it's just another player has to stand behind. But gosh, does it look weird. It's also very red. Like, they went with the Fire Truck theme overboard, and has kind of like on the sides of the original machine, it had kind of vintage looking Fire Truck design going for it.
So when Zach was originally building out the notes for this episode, he dropped in a bunch of images of arcade cabinets that we thought were fun, or he thought were fun. And I was looking through them and I was like, yep, that's definitely weird. Yep, that's definitely weird. And I got to Fire Truck and I was like, that's not really that weird. It just looks like a seated, like a racing game. And so I was like, why is this in the weird arcade cabinet list? And then I realized that there was that controller that Zachary mentioned on the back of the seat, so that there would be someone standing and somebody sitting. Now, I just want you to think so it's 1978. This is an interesting co-op, right? It's a co-op game, which is rare for that time. It's cool. It's an interesting concept. But what if you don't have a friend that's with you and you want to play this game? First of all, who would want to hover over somebody's head while playing this game, which is hopefully your friend's head? And who would want to have somebody hover over you being seated, and hopefully that it's your friend that's hovering over you? Also, I feel like the seat nor the controls are adjustable.
No, I don't think so.
So they're like sized for two very specifically sized people. So like if somebody's extremely tall or short, it's gonna get weird real fast.
So Fire Truck, it's actually from 1978. It was programmed by a man named Howard Dellman, developed and published by Atari Incorporated. And this was actually, it's a black and white game, which I think is kind of cool. So back in the 70s, a majority of games were black and white. And what they would do if they wanted color in the game is they would usually put an overlay over the screen, or they would tint the glass a certain color. And that's how they did color for a lot of things like Breakout and stuff like that. And it was actually one of the earliest games to do co-op like this, where two players have to work together. And that's really cool, because co-op, I think, is very important to playing video games. I think when you have a game that has co-op, it instantly becomes a better game. Even if the game isn't great. It instantly is a better game if it has co-op.
But just as long as that person who's cooperatively playing with you is not standing in a weird position.
And as long as one of them doesn't smell like butt. In Fire Truck, players have to cooperate to drive the truck through traffic as far as possible without crashing. While the game can be played with one player, it was designed for two. The front player steers the tractor of the truck sitting down, controlling the gas and the brakes, while the rear player steers the tiller for the rear wheels, controlling the swing of the trailer. The cabinet also provides the players with bells and horns, but these don't do anything. They're just for show.
Or fun.
Well, yeah, but they're still just for show. But they are just for fun.
All right. This one, if you look up any of these, we recommend looking up all of them. We definitely recommend looking up this one. And this is going to be the last one for this episode. We'll come back and do some more weird arcade cabinets, because I think it's fun. It's great. I love looking at this stuff and talking about it. So this one is called Maneater. Now, Maneater is best described as if someone took an arcade cabinet and then covered it with a rubber shark. Where the screen is, opened the mouth so that the top of the mouth was the screen and the bottom of the mouth was the controls. And it also had a very pointy nose.
It looks really inappropriate.
And it looks, when I looked at it the first time and the second time and the third time, it always reminds me of something extremely inappropriate that we won't mention on this podcast because we're appropriate. Though or
yeah, either one.
My second thought, after being like, that looks like my second thought is there's teeth on this mouth of the shark, and they line up so that they are in front of the controls that you would use. So if I'm putting my arms down to control this machine, am I putting them on the teeth? Like, where are the teeth? And how comfortable are they? Because they look like they would be uncomfortable and that playing the game would be tough.
My understanding, at least from looking at other photos of Maneater, is it looks like hard plastic, Seth.
Oh, fun. That's always fun to put your arm on. I love just placing my arm on sharp, hard plastic nodules while playing a game.
My thinking with this is that there was an executive out there who looked at like the design of this, looked at the prototype machine, and said, this is a great idea, and nothing is wrong with it.
There's a bunch wrong with it.
It's so good. I love, for those who don't know, this game came out in 75, so it would have been prime time for Sharks because Jaws was out in 75.
Oh yeah, I mean this game came out because of Jaws.
Yes.
And the game came out in 1975. It was made by the Project Support Engineering Company, and it appears to be you playing as a dude who's swimming and trying to avoid sharks who are trying to eat him. And if he is a man, hence the name Maneater.
Ooh, a little bit more information about it. So I do have what the material is. The enclosure is a metal flake, fiberglass formed white cabinet. So that is made of fiberglass.
I feel like people got hurt playing this.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, that's going to be our weird, wacky arcade cabinets and the ones that we thought you would enjoy hearing about.
Yes. And were they not only weird, but they were wacky.
And don't worry, there'll be more. We want to drag out weird, wacky cabinets. And if you've heard or know about a weird, wacky cabinet that you think we should know about, like Typing of the Dead or something like that, where the cabinet is weird, let us know. We love to know all about weird, wacky cabinets. The weirder, the better. So with that, let's get on to our byweight pass.
So my byweight pass is a game called Lord of the Rings Gollum. Lord of the Rings Gollum is being produced by Daedalic Studios, and it's supposed to come out in 2021. It is a story-driven action-adventure game where you take on the perilous journey as Gollum, chasing the only thing that is precious to him, the One Ring. Now, he is skillful and cunning, but also torn by his split personality. One mind, two egos, you decide. Now, Seth, I'm quite the fan of Lord of the Rings. You know, I love the movies. I've played some of the games. I used to remember we had one of the DOS games, I think. It was kind of hard to play. It was like a difficult game, but it was fun. He played as Frodo. You know what I'm talking about?
That game was hard.
That game was hard. Yeah, it was a tough game. But, you know, I like Lord of the Rings. I like, you know, Lord of the Rings content. I think it's a very fascinating world. I have not played games like Shadow of Mordor, but I've heard very good things about it. I don't want this game. To put it bluntly, it's going to be a pass for me. I think Gollum's a very interesting character. I don't want to play an entire game as him. I don't know about you, but like, I think of all the characters to make a story-driven action-adventure game out of from the Lord of the Rings universe, Gollum is like the last one I would have picked. It just doesn't sound appealing to me. Who knows? I mean, it could be someone's cup of tea. And, you know, I'm not going to knock anyone for picking it up. It looks like a cool game in the terms of the graphics and stuff like that. And, you know, Daedalic Studios, I'm sure they have some good minds behind what they can do with the game. It's going to be a pass for me. It just does not look like the game I want ever, to be frank.
Wow.
This is kind of a, is it really that bad segment for a game that hasn't even come out yet?
Zachary's already to rip into Lord of the Rings Gollum. My byweight pass is going to be a game called Summerland, which is by Fire, spelled Fyre. So just like that company that tried to have a
Fire Festival.
Fire Festival on an island with no tents.
That's a good sign.
Anyway, so it's Fire Games, and it came out earlier this month, December 2nd, and it is a walking simulator, first-person narrative where you play as a detective reliving his past, because I think you might be dead, because it's called Summerland. And there are some moral choices that you have to make throughout the game. It looks like a What Remains of Edith Finch style game, but it's free.
Ooh.
I grabbed it. I'm going to try it out, and we'll talk about it hopefully in an episode near you. So I'll put it down as a buy ? Because I'm getting it.
Yeah.
So maybe a wait and see. It's free though. So if you go on Steam, just look up Summerland. And you also could own a copy of a first-person narrative game about morality.
Yeah, I might play that as well. I like games like that.
If it's anything like What Remains of Edith Finch, then I would be very happy. Well, it doesn't need to be as weird as What Remains of Edith Finch, because that is a weird game, but it could be like just paced like it. That'd be fun. All right, that is the end of our...
That is it. We've done it.
Why don't you take us away? Take it away.
So let's say you want to contact us, listen to us, and support us. Well, those are great things that you should do, and I'm going to tell you how to do those right about now. If you want to contact us, you can shoot us an email at classicgamingbrothers@classicgamingbrothers.com, or you can send us an email to classicgamingbrothers@gmail.com, or Zach@classicgamingbrothers.com, or Seth@classicgamingbrothers.com, or info@classicgamingbrothers.com. I checked. It works. It's great.
You checked. I checked.
Well, I actually checked before you. I just didn't tell you. So you can send us an email to all those places. You can also go to our website, classicgamingbrothers.com, and you can go to the contact form. You can fill out that contact form. You can shoot us a message that way. It goes right to our email inbox, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Feel free to get in touch with us whenever you feel like it. You can let us know what you think of the show, what you like about the show, what you hate about the show. If you have any ideas for the show, sometimes we take ideas and we put them into episodes. We've done that recently with things like The Virtual Boy, and our horror episode was also inspired by a fan request. And so, yeah, that's some things that you can do if you really want to reach out to us. And any email that gets sent to us from people who are real and not spammers will get entered into the chance to win a free video game. So have at it.
And not just that, and more. We have a special announcement to make. We are upping our prize giveaway. So not only will you be entered into a chance to win a choice of a free video game, which honestly, for a video game podcast, I think that's a pretty sweet deal. You may also have a chance to win the voice of our professional announcer, Josh, for your home answering machine.
Is he going to send it on like a micro tape, like the kind that they used for old style answering machines?
Yeah, so you'll facilitate that. So for your home answering machine or voicemail, we are with the times. Our announcer, Josh, will leave you a voicemail that you can leave as your voicemail. It's not like anyone else has ever done this giveaway before.
No, definitely no one else. No one ever.
Anyway, so yeah, we that is now officially on the table.
Excellent. Well, that's so yeah, feel free to reach out to us. That way you can be entered into the chance to win something awesome. So let's say now you want to listen to us. Well, you're already listening to us, so you win this one. Good job. Well, if you want to let people know how to listen to us, I think I should say, you could tell them that we are available on every podcasting application that we are aware of, which includes Spotify and includes Stitcher and includes the Amazon podcasting application, includes iTunes. It's everywhere. We're everywhere. We're everywhere. So just, look us up on your favorite podcasting application. If for some reason we're not on that podcasting application, well, I highly recommend you let us know so that we can get on that application ASAP so that we can be available to anyone who wants to listen to us on that application. Look at that. So that's how you can listen to us. Now, if you want to support us, well, you're already supporting us because you're listening to our podcast. And I got to say, I'm really happy that you are listening because that is the best thing you can do to support us. But another great thing you can do to support us is you can go to our social medias. We have a Facebook, we have an Instagram, we have a Twitter. Our Facebook and Instagram are Classic Gaming Brothers. Our Twitter is CG Brothers Pod. You can go to those places. You can like us and you can share us and subscribe and ring bells and do all those things. You can go to our Twitch as well. We have a Classic Gaming Brothers Twitch, twitch.tv/Classic Gaming Brothers. And we also have a versus Classic Gaming Brothers, VS Classic Gaming Brothers Twitch. That's where I usually stream, or sometimes I just kind of hang out and chat with Seth using the chat function. So feel free to follow either. If you want to follow the main one, though, that's the big one that we stream from. Yeah. Oh, and we have a store too. Yeah, we always have a store. But feel free if you want to throw some money our way so that you can have some merchandise. That's why we have the store, but it's definitely not a requirement, obviously, or anything that we are holding anyone to. We appreciate having you listen to us. That's the best support that we can get. So feel free to share us and let everyone know that you love the show. And that's everything. That is it. That is the entire list of things that you can do. And that's all that people have to do. And that's all I have to say. And there's nothing else I have to say at all. Unless Seth can think of something that he has to say.
Don't play games like my brother.
And don't play games like my brother.
I've been Seth.
And I've been Zach.
And we've been the Classic Gaming Brothers.
That's right.
Right. If we found... I think we could rebuild Arm Champs. So you should find the board for Arm Champs.
All right. Here we go.
We can...
I'm looking it up.
You're not actually looking it up.